sit in this building. So, we're starring right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm used to that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah? Okay. I will introduce you in Dutch first.
Uh-huh.
I'd rather have that. Dit is meneer Krek, de maker van Olivier Blunder, waar we nu in het Engels mee gaan praten. Ja, waarschijnlijk zijn er wat meer mensen die het nou kunnen volgen dan het Frans van mijn collega Harbok. You're known as the writer and designer of that comic, Olivier Blunder, as it is called in Holland. What was the French name?
Oh, the French name is Achille Talon. The American name is Walter Mellon. The German name is Albert Enzian. In Scandinavia, it's August Julius. You want more?
Well, go. I want to see how many languages you...
I cannot remember all his names. He has 11 different names.
11 different names. But is it possible? I mean, it's the kind of story is very, well, I would say, rather difficult. It's an awful lot of text, dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes have the impression when I read the Dutch versions that, well, there is something French behind it, I think, but I don't understand it on certain scenes, you know, because it is translated to Dutch, which is not only a different language but also a different culture.
Yes, I'm trying from the start to make it as international as I can. But I know it's a hell of a job for a translator, because it's, for a story like that, it's more than a translation. You have to adapt, to adjust to a culture, or I'm used to play with words, and it's not always possible to do it in a different language. And in Holland, the translator, who's more than a translator, is Frits van der Heijden.
Yes.
And I think he makes a wonderful job, because sometimes it's almost impossible to translate, and he has to really invent something equivalent, something that has the same meaning but not with the same words and
the same atmosphere.
Yeah. I think it happens with some plays for the stage, or some movies too, with subtitles or things like that, depending on if it's based on what you see or on the language. This strip is based on both.
Yes, but an awful lot is based on the language.
Yes.
I mean, when you compare it with normal comics, it's having.
You mean it's not a normal comic?
I don't find it a normal comic, if I may say so. I mean, no. I mean, when you read a comic, most of the time you look at the designs, and then there is some text, and they put them together, and you have the story. I mean, you can't just look at your designs. You just have to read it. Otherwise, you don't understand anything about it at all. So it's I find it a difficult comic. I mean, people have to read it to understand it.
Yes. Actually, I always was a rebel, and I remember that I was working for a magazine. Well, I won't name the magazine, but we got a reminder, a note from the publisher. And I had made a study, and I said, if you want it commercial, never use more than 7 words in a panel.
Yes.
Because the average reader won't pay attention longer than that. And I was really mad when I got that that note, because I said, well, if you consider the reader as stupid as that, forget it. Give him silent strips.
Yeah.
And the next week I came with a page was maybe 200 words. And I liked it.
That was not
No,
rebellion,
no, it was
guerrilla.
my first experiment. It was not with Olivier Blunder. It was with a different character, but I reacted that way.
Yeah.
And I remember when I started Olivier Blunder in the French language for the first time. It was in Pilote, a French magazine,
Yes.
and the boss was Goscinny.
Yes.
He was the editor-in-chief. And we tried that, and I was very shy and very careful at the start. And Blunder didn't speak too much. And Goscinny told me, but I saw what you did in that other magazine. Why don't you do that for me? So I started those dialogues, and it proved right because the mail from the readers used the same language.
They did?
Yes. About the entire magazine. Everything that I had to say about the entire magazine was said with Blunder's language. So I had, first it was a proof that I had really read it, understood it, and liked it. So I don't see why why I should stop that. And in addition to that, well, another proof that it works is that I made the very first book in France was published in 1967.
Yes.
And I had to reprint and reprint again, and it still sells now at the rate of about 1,000 a month. Still now. Yes, the very first. I completed 37 of them. And it proves that now I'm the guys who buy that book are actually the sons of my first readers, and it still works. So when I hear that, while the kids nowadays won't use the same language and won't be interested, it's not true. Because it still works with the same gags and the same book, just you reprint it and it works again.
So you won't stop?
No. And I like to speak, as you can hear.
Yeah, I understand it. You also have written for other designers.
Yes.
You have even been an editor of a magazine.
Yes, for twice.
Twice, yes.
Yes. The first one I was very young and I had no idea of the market, and I lost a lot of money. The second time was a magazine in France with Blunder.
Yes.
It was a small magazine, and it didn't work because it was the first crisis, and that was the smallest and most expensive magazine on the market at the same time. Nobody was used to pay that price for a larger magazine, and my magazine was even smaller. But
why did you start that? I mean, why would you like to edit anything?
Because you have to fight all your life. You have to try new things, new ventures all your life. If you stop trying, you're dead.
Well, that's some philosophy, but doesn't mean you have to stick your neck under the guillotine as you do when you try to edit something.
Well, I'm not sure about the guillotine. I tried.
Well, not a sharp one.
I have a rough neck.
Yeah. We can try later on.
Now, in America, for instance, I was a publisher too, not for a magazine, but I tried to introduce French books, comic books, in the American market. It worked so and so. I did that for 3 years, and then now it's an American distributor was in charge, Macmillan in New York. But we had to try, and I won't stop trying new things all my life. Right now I started writing mystery novels. I have a contract with a French publisher for 4 books a year for 3 years.
Real novels?
Real novels.
No designs?
No, that's a
words?
new thing to me too. I have to try new things all the time to keep excited.
What kind of novels?
Mystery. It's about two French detectives, part of Brigade Criminelle.
Yes.
And well, the idea for the first one came because I was living in Connecticut, and the story was that I find the body of a Frenchman dead, killed, on a beach in Connecticut. So the American police are in charge, but from Paris I send one of the cops, detective, and because on the computers I can read, Inspector Howdy, 37 years old, very good, I can speak English. And actually it was the the notice I had from the day he joined the police, and he just had learned a little English at school, and that's it.
Pidgin English.
And, yeah, then he's sent in America. And because I really knew an American detective, and it was very exciting to oppose the French police and the American police on the same case, because it's a different planet. I don't work the same at all. And I visit all the places I describe in the book. I really visited. I just invented
The story?
the story, but all the places and details are true. And for instance, at the moment, the French detective is supposed to buy a gun. And I visited that place where when you have the permit, I give you a permit, and with that permit you can go to that shop, specialized, and buy
A gun.
no, a weapon.
A weapon.
Because in a war you have all the weapons you can dream of, including machine guns, things that big. And with you can, if you have the permit, you can buy that too.
And you did have a permit?
No, I didn't.
You wish you had.
But I wish I had. Not to use it, but for the fun of.
I think we have to stop for the camera.
All right.
Yeah.